alternative to applique that my guest Lynn Reinhardt calls color book quilting. Now, it is thread painting, but don't let that scare you, because it's all based on coloring in coloring books. So you're using thread really like scribbling. It's that easy. Lynn, I was so excited when I saw that you were going to do coloring book quilts. That sounds like so much fun. I was so intrigued.
I know, I love coloring.
Yes.
And I think everybody who quilts loves coloring.
Absolutely.
And really, kind of what we do is coloring. I mean,
Yeah.
they say it's thread painting, but I really don't think it's thread painting. I think it's coloring books.
Oh, that's a whole different concept
I
of
know.
it.
Isn't it easier to think about? Like,
Yeah.
we were kids and we loved coloring books.
And we weren't afraid of it. But
Right,
somehow thread
exactly.
painting is a whole different
It
thing.
seems scary. So
Yeah.
it's not scary. So I want to show everybody how it's not scary.
Okay.
So this is coloring books. So what we did, or what I did, is I thought, you know, some of the best places to get coloring book ideas for quilts is applique patterns.
Oh, okay.
An applique, you know, can be not fun for some people. I've heard
Yeah.
some people are allergic to it.
Yep,
But
yep.
I'm not. I love applique, but I love coloring too. So anyway, I thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting if we just took an applique pattern and instead of taking all the pieces and cutting them out of fabric, we just color them with thread so that it looks like a coloring instead of necessarily fabric.
Oh, wow.
So it's a different idea to quilt. So what I did is I took this applique pattern, and this is a pattern that my company produces, and it's Nifty Christmas. And in every applique, I know, isn't that fun? It's like 50s, kind of nifty, swell, it's swell. So what I did is I took some really simple applique designs, you know, and in every applique pattern you'll find this. It won't just be something I've done, but all these applique patterns will have like how it's supposed to be laid out, and in those patterns they'll have, you know, things for you to trace.
Yeah, the full size.
The full size, so that you can get those pieces of fabric to your, you know, quilt. Well, this is easier because you don't have to cut out fabric.
Right.
You still have to trace. So what you're going to do is you're going to trace your applique pattern that you want to use. So I trace the ornaments, and I trace the Christmas trees. And then what you do is you get out your crayons.
I can do that. I can do
I know.
that. Oh,
so
and
you
I
get
have
out
some.
your crayons.
I have
okay,
some.
you have crayons. So you get out your crayons and you start looking at, okay, what colors do I want these to be? And you start coloring them. And the reason you want to get out your crayons is because you really want to think about, with thread, we have all these amazing colors, right? And I just think we should use them all. Like, I don't think you should limit yourself to like 3 colors. You should use it all.
The whole 64 Crayola or whatever it is.
The big box. I wanted the big box as a kid. So what you were going to do is you're going to choose a light, medium, and dark.
Okay.
And we're going to, for the Christmas tree, so you're going to do a light, medium, and dark, and you're going to start coloring what you want it to look like. So I decided I was going to have the dark on the left side, and then the medium in the middle of my trees, and then the light on the edge, and then that would give me some shadowing and shading.
Yeah.
And you're just going to start practicing coloring your Christmas trees, right? Now, this is a really important step, and the reason this is an important step is because this helps you determine what thread you're going to use.
Okay.
Okay? So then the next thing is you go get the thread.
More color, yay!
I know, exactly. So this is at this point in the stage in the process, is where I look at it and go, okay, which threads match my colors that I want it to show up as? So I think it's really great and easy to just start with 3 colors and just look at your pattern and think of light, medium, and dark. You know, when we started learning how to put quilts together, that was always kind of what they were saying with fabric.
Yes.
right? I need a light,
Exactly.
I need a medium, and a dark. You're gonna do the same thing with this.
It gives a dimension, especially to an object.
It gives dimension to an object and it adds interest.
Yep.
And plus you have all those threads, so let's use
Yeah.
them.
Oh.
Like, come on, we buy all the fabric, we buy all the threads.
Candy, candy.
I know, it's exactly, and they're so pretty. Come
I
on.
know.
So I actually use Isocord, and it's a poly thread. I like it because it comes in a full range of colors, as well as it's really color safe.
Oh, okay.
Very color safe. So
Yeah, especially when you're working on some light
yeah,
colors.
yeah, light background. And this works really good with any kind of thing that you have with a quilt with negative space. You know, and we design a lot of quilts now with a lot of negative space, so it works well with that too, not just for applique, but this is what we're gonna do. So after I've chosen my colors, the reason I want to do that first is because once you start stitching, you're not gonna take it out.
Oh, all these little stitches. Oh my
All
goodness.
these little stitches, right. So you're not gonna take it out. So I've chosen my colors, and I'm gonna do a light, medium, and light, medium, and dark, and I'm matching them to the threads on my coloring. All right, so I'm gonna put those away. And then the next thing to do is you're going to trace your pattern on your quilt top.
Okay.
Now, this is how I do it, and maybe it's because I've done applique a lot. I use a light box. And the reason is I can take that applique pattern, put it right underneath my fabric, and trace it with the blue pen.
Yes, the
I
blue
know,
pen.
the blue pen is great. The only caution with the blue pen is don't iron it, because then it's permanent.
Yes.
Just FYI.
Yes. And if you don't have a light box, I have a tip, because I've never had a light box, but I have one of those clear Sew Steady tables for my
Right.
sewing machine. So you just pull it away and you use that. I put I have a little fluorescent light that I stick underneath there, and then
Yes.
you can, go
Light
to town.
boxes are great. And yeah,
I bet
you
they
can
are.
use the window, and you
No,
can
that's
use,
hard. You got to hold the thing,
Right,
especially when it's
yeah.
fabric.
Yeah. Painter's tape's your friend.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, you're going to use a light box, and you're going to trace your design onto your fabric. You can also cut out the designs and trace them on it. That's another technique. I think because I've done so much applique, I just use the light box. It's easier. So then the next step is to go to your sewing machine.
Yay!
Put it on the long arm. Now, I want to say this too. People ask me a lot of times, how do I determine what batting I use? And to me, batting is what causes dimension. And because I do mostly art quilts, and because this is a very thread-heavy technique, the more security I have and to stabilize that thread base, it is going to look better. So I'm kind of the double bat girl.
Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
I really like to use a cotton base, and then I put wool on top. And there's a couple of reasons I use cotton and wool. First, wool does not have memory.
Okay.
Cotton does remember things, but cotton is much more solid.
Yes.
So it really provides a good foundation for me to stitch through. And if I'm not doing this, I would have to put a fusible stabilizer underneath this. The thing with colored book quilting is you really need to have that stable base because you're putting so much thread work there. It can tend to pull your fabric in, which would not give you a look that you would enjoy.
No.
Right. So how we're going to avoid that is if you do double bat, it gives you more of a stabilizer. And if you're doing a ton of color book quilting in it, then you may want to put a fusible stabilizer, a lightweight stabilizer underneath it.
Okay.
I actually didn't on this, and I don't think it's necessary for this amount.
Yes. You're
Right?
not covering it.
I'm not covering it. And I've done some pretty heavy quilting that I haven't covered it. If you'll notice the quilt behind me, it does not have stabilizer in it, but it does have 2 bats. So, but wool's really great because it doesn't have memory and it springs back, and that's what you want. You want that dimension, and wool is going to give you that dimension. So after I've traced it, decided my colors, right, I'm going to the quilt, to my machine, and I'm going to start coloring. So I got to think about this just like you would when you're coloring, you know, a coloring book. So I'm thinking, well, how do these trees look? Does the stitching go up and down? Does it go across?
Yeah.
So how do the trees, the leaves, the pine needles lay, and then that's what I'm kind of thinking about as I'm drawing it.
So it's just like scribbling.
It's very much like scribbling. It's very easy, not intimidating at all. But the thing you want to remember is when you're doing this kind of work, we have these great machines that have this awesome throat space where you can do, 12-inch block on point, and that's wonderful. But for thread painting, because it's such intense work, you really want to be in the sweet spot, which is about 12 inches away from you.
Okay.
And it's not going to allow you to hunch over and get so intense, because it's serious coloring.
Yeah, but you don't want to get all tight.
But you don't want to get all tight, because this is fun. So you want to make sure that you advance your machine so that your fabric is right in this sweet spot, so that you're sewing right in front of you and not trying to lean over and sew where you don't have as much control because you are drawing.
Yep, and
right?
plus your back will thank you.
Yes, your back will thank you. And I always set timers.
Yeah.
When I'm sewing, I set my watch and have an alarm go off so that I'm only sewing at the machine for a certain amount of time, and then I walk away and, go get a iced tea, because I'm in the South and that's what we do. All right.
Sweet iced tea.
Sweet iced tea, baby. All right, so again, I'm going to start the machine and I'm going to put the needle. What?
If you're going to start quilting on Quilt It the Longarm Quilting Show, you need your zinger.
That is so great. I just hope I don't poke myself in the face.
You won't. No one has yet.
That's good news. I don't want to start a trend. All right, so when I start sewing, and this is a great machine, and I love the idea, I didn't do it on this one, but you can adjust these handles to get them closer to where you're stitching, which I think lets you concentrate on that, and it doesn't feel as awkward here, and maybe it's more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So machines that can adjust is really a sweet thing. All right, so you do needle up, down.
Yep.
Right? I like mine in the down position. You pull your bobbin up, as you do every other time, right? All right, the thing I like to think about when you're drawing this is you want to make sure that you're thinking about how the leaves on the trees fall, right? So you're not going to go up and down. You're going to think about how the leaves go out from the edge of the tree, right? In this, so that's how we're going to scribble, thread paint, color book,
Okay.
right?
Yep. Try to be like nature does it.
Like nature does it, right? So I'm going to just start filling in, and I'm going to go up towards the top of my tree, right? And again, I'm just going back and forth. But as I lay the thread down, it just keeps adding more and more color to it. And it doesn't have to be solid. That's kind of the attractiveness of the coloring, because it allows you to see through it. Kind of think of it as those chalkboard designs,
yes, that's
and how you
exactly
kind of
right.
see through it. That's what this is. But you're doing it with color, which makes it really exciting. But it's the same concept. It's not solid. That would be embroidery, right? This isn't embroidery. It's coloring book. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this and just keep adding thread and let it have that kind of see-through look. So you're not having to lay down all that thread. Do you want to try it?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so you can just color back down.
Okay. Away we go. This is really difficult, Lynn.
I know.
Really, really
How is
difficult.
anybody going to ever do it?
So you just go up and down until you have decided that you have enough color and you want to add the next one.
Right, exactly.
I don't know, that's really tough.
How could anybody ever do that? Okay, let me move it out of the way. All right, so once we've added the darkest color, and I always start with the darkest color first.
Yep.
So once I've added the dark color, then I want to move to the next color. And the next color for me is this medium blue. Now here's the tip, and you can do it either way. It depends on what you want. A lot of us match our colored thread to our bobbin. And if you don't match it and you leave the same bobbin with the dark blue in there, you're going to get little bits of blue.
Yeah, the dark underneath there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Right? Because it gives me more dimension and another layer to look at. Now, you don't have to do it that way. You can match the bobbin, but you don't have to match the bobbin.
So you're giving us the opportunity to be lazy. I'm lazy on purpose.
Exactly. Or it can be just like, oh, I forgot to change the bobbin. Oh, it doesn't matter. Look, this looks really good. How did that happen?
I meant to do it.
I meant to do that. All right, so this is the dark, and then this is the sample where I've added in the medium blue, right? I did leave the bobbin in for the dark, which to me added another dimension. Okay, so what you do is you add in the lighter color, right? And remember, you can go back and forth. You're not going to draw a line and keep in that line. It's going to blend.
You're shading, really.
You're shading. That's exactly what we're doing, exactly what we did with our crayons. So, and then the last one, you will see where we did the green, and we added the three colors for the green tree. And I just want to point out, you'll notice that there's some gathering here, but that's normal. It's going to do that a little bit, but when you add your background quilting, it will quilt out.
Oh, okay.
That will quilt out.
You heard it from a long armor.
I know. So, but that, if you get more gathering than that, then back off on your coloring a little bit and do a little bit lighter and have more see-through.
Okay.
But that's perfect. So, all right, so what we're going to do now that we've seen the trees, is we're going to advance this, and I'm going to show you how to do the ornaments and a star.
Let's do it. I see what you mean about ornaments.
I know, they're exciting.
Yeah.
So it's the same process that we did for the trees. We're going to trace our ornaments from the pattern just like with a light box, and I used the blue pen. And then we're going to add the colors again. Again, light, medium, and dark for your ornaments. Now, but for this one, I've added in a third or a fourth color, and I'm adding green in the background. So, but you're going to quilt on the edge and add the layers of color for the shadow effect. So you'll see in the second example. And then I'm starting to put green in the background where the star is, and I've also put just one color of green in the ribbon that's holding the ornaments. All right, so but what I want to show you is how do we handle a star or another different dimensional figure, right, when you're looking at it? Because all we've done so far is like a globe or cone shape kind of things. So you can do other thread painting type of things, and it doesn't necessarily have to be scribbles. So it doesn't.
Oh, we've advanced.
We've advanced just a little bit. So what I'm going to do, let me move this over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my needle in the center, and I'm actually going to take a straight line, and this is free motion, so it doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay.
But I'm going to take a straight line, and I'm going to go to the point of each one of the points, right? And then after I do that, I'm going to go over with a zigzag that I'm creating to give kind of a curved effect. And just think about it, when you're coloring with crayons, you would do that for the point of the star. So we're just going to do that with thread. All right? So again, needle up, down.
Starting in the center.
Starting in the center, I'm going to bring up my bobbin, as you do for every other time. And again, I like mine needle down so that when I stop, I know where it stops. Okay? Notice they don't have to be perfectly straight, because you're just giving dimension to this. I'm taking it out. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zigzag over the point. I'm going to go back, I'm going to zigzag over this point.
Oh.
Right? And then I'm going to go back to the center, zigzag over this point. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, because what you're doing is you're just adding dimension, right?
You're
and
coloring.
that zigzag, right, and that zigzag just gives me another layer to look at. I'm going to continue the whole thing. All right, I did half the star, so I would continue and do the whole thing, and then let me pull this up so you can see this one really well.
Yeah, because that is really,
Right?
it's so pretty. Because it's got so much more going on than the trees did.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's pretty.
So what I'm going to use my new scissors.
Yay!
Okay, so you can see the last one is as I finished it, and then I went around the edge. And
Oh,
it's
you
not
outlined it.
perfect. It's not perfect, but it's not supposed to be perfect.
Right.
This is free form stuff, and it just allows you to get that dimension.
Yep.
So you would finish all your ornaments, all your trees, and of course, when you're done.
This is what is so fun because look at the finished effect.
Right.
Especially with the patchwork.
Right.
And it's just so, it lights up. Yeah. Now tell me about...
I will in the next episode.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so you'll just have to watch in another episode so we can do fonts.
Fun.
Yay. Thank you. Can't wait.
Handy Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters.